Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today. Today's hearing is going to focus on the three pieces of legislation that were signed into law by President Biden over the course of this Congress. First, let's be clear where we are today. The economy and the American people are not better off since the president took office. Rather, the current 8.3% inflation is nearly 400% higher than when the president first took office, and Americans are struggling with heightened cost of everyday items. Inflation and many other crises many of the crises we are facing today are a result of the cumulative impact of overspending, overregulated, and overall failed leadership. The first of the three bills we're here to talk about today passed in early 2021, costing a whopping $2 trillion. The American Rescue Plan, or ARP as it was called, was forced through Congress using a partisan budget reconciliation process under the guise of helping the nation combat and recover from COVID-19 pandemic. However, it was passed when the economy was already well into recovery, and only 9% of the bill's funds went to COVID-related assistance. Not to mention, it was the only COVID package developed and passed in a completely partisan way since the onset of the public health crisis. The second bill, which is of pivotal interest to this committee, is the $1.2 trillion Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or IIJA. The chair and I both were critical of the fact that this bill was written and negotiated in the Senate along with the administration while the House was completely shut out of the process. In November 2021, when the bill came over to the House, members were left with the choice of this flawed piece of legislation or nothing, which frustrated all sides. The third bill recently passed is the $750 billion Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, that despite its clever name, it actually makes inflation worse. Altogether, these massive spending bills total nearly $4 trillion, most of which is paid through deficit spending. I look forward to discussing the very serious effects and consequences that are plaguing Americans, in no small part due to the totality of all the massive spending over the last 2 years. Problem number one isn't hard to identify. The injection of nearly $4 trillion into the economy in only 17 months contributed to the highest inflation in 4 decades. In fact, economists estimate that inflation is costing the average American family nearly $8,000 more this year for everyday necessities. Inflation is also causing states and local government to scrap or at least push off some very important transportation projects. And we have heard that in this committee. If inflation continues, it could entirely wipe out the funding increases in the IIJA. But let's remember that Democrat economist Larry Summers, he warned us. And the majority, time and time again, dismissed the warnings. Aside from focusing on the damage these bills did to our economy, another concern of mine is how the administration is implementing laws that have passed, including the IIJA. The administration is not following the letter of the law, and instead they're using rules and guidance materials to impose partisan policies throughout the process. Looking forward, my focus is going to be on oversight of IIJA, as well as the transportation-related provisions in the ARP and the IRA to ensure that taxpayer funding is spent wisely and according to the letter of the law, or the way the law was passed. Again, I look forward to hearing from the witnesses today, and I want to thank you, and Mr. Chairman, and I yield back the balance of my time.